In today's video, we're just going to be going through an alternate car strategy for the 1 hour Maggiore race and the human comedy missions in Gran Turismo 7. I did a video guide on this race before, but I used the Renault I, and that car seems to be the absolute best on fuel around this track while also being one of the fastest cars here, so if you can drive the car, it's probably still your best option to go for. Honestly, that car is really difficult to drive, especially to go fast. So here we got different car options, the BMW Z4. In that guide video I made the other day, Diego here commented that he got gold on this race with the Z4 by doing 2 stops and using medium tyres. So I thought I'd give it a go, and I found this car to be super stable. It's probably the most stable car that I've driven so far, so if you're struggling with that Renault, then I really do recommend to come drive this Z4. The only thing is that, yes, that it's very stable, but it's also very understeery, so you're going to have to just be a little bit more patient for the car to turn in. But yeah, it doesn't have mega oversteer issues like other car did. This car's also really fast on medium tyres, and it's not too bad on fuel. For the strategy, it should work fine, but you can't really do a one-stop the way I'm running it in this race. And I also found the performance of this car to be quite terrible on the hard tyres. I was like almost 1.5 seconds per lap slower on hard tyres versus the mediums. So the best option for this particular car I found was just the 2-stop strategy. The Porsche is also a really good option. It's great on fuel, and you should almost be able to do a one-stop on the fuel map 1. I haven't tested it, but if you can't, you certainly should be able to on the second fuel map. It's generally really stable, and it has a lot better cornering grip than the Z4 does, but you just have to be careful in a couple of the tighter turns, because there is the odd occasion where the car might try to snap on you. Like when you come down that back straight, down that steep hill into that cambered tight hairpin, if you drop the throttle there and turn hard, the car's probably going to snap on you, so you just need to carry about half throttle into that turn. Similar to what I showed in that previous video that I made. Also, if you're going to try to run a one-stop race with this car, I'd suggest that you go for the hard tyres. So to start the race, we're just going to leave fuel map on number 1 and put the traction control up to number 1 just for that extra safety on the throttle. Now, for this race, for the strategy, you should be fine with fuel map number 1, but if you want to save a little bit of time and you don't want to spend as much time in the pits fueling up your car, then I would suggest to maybe pop your fuel map on number 2. You'll still be quite quick, but you'll be a little bit slower than fuel map number 1, but you'll save a little bit of time in the pit stops so that you don't have to fill up your car as much. Just restarting the race real quick to show the opening lap, because I found this car on medium tyres to actually be really strong on this first lap. I've even got myself up to first place before the end of the lap on some attempts, but I'll show you that you do have to be quite aggressive. And as you saw just there, I'm leaning on the Ford and I'm going to lean on this Audi here just to make up as much ground as possible on the opening couple corners of the lap. And now it's just down to focusing on your braking points, lines and acceleration points to make up as much ground as possible from here, and just be smooth as possible. And obviously I wouldn't normally recommend to be so dirty, but the AI do it to us, so why can't we do it to them, right? Now coming down to this turn, we should be able to make it past these two guys, because they always brake really early on this first lap here. We might even tuck it on the inside of the Lambo, and the car will be quite understeery, so just be aware to be patient there. Up to this next turn, we should end up right behind the Mazda through the midpoint of this little chicane thing here. And I'm just going to try to work out which way to go around him. Probably going to go for the inside. Oh, he's going to block us a little bit there. Yeah, I've lost a lot of time just there waiting for him to speed up, because he brakes in the middle of there for no reason. Now, for the next car behind the Porsche, we should have plenty of speed down here to get past him. All that slipstream, our car's quite quick in the straights. So we'll swing past him and make our way down to the braking zone. This turn we don't have issues or any worries of the car snapping on us, just a bit of understeer, be ready for that. Now one more car to go, the Supra at the front, and if our run's good enough, we should be able to sneak past him before the end of this first lap. Yep, so we're going down to the last turn now, right behind this guy, and we should easily be able to throw a scene up on the inside. There we go, get on the throttle, and we're first place before the first lap is even over. Now at this point, once you're at the front, it's just about focusing on your racing lines, as pretty much always. And the AI will perform slightly different on every single attempt, so sometimes on an attempt like this, where I was at the front, on some attempts at that exact same point, the AI, well, that Supra guy might even be further ahead on some attempts. On other attempts, he might be further behind, so they're kind of a little bit random. So if the guys are suddenly quicker than usual, I'd suggest restart the race until they have a bit of a slower run. And obviously it is quite difficult to get yourself up to first place in the first lap, so don't expect yourself to be doing that all the time. And with my current pace, we should be pulling away for a wee while. We might pick up a couple seconds over the next few laps, but then in a few laps time we'll get that one BMW M6. He'll just start to go, he decides no more holding back, sandbags are coming off, and then he starts catching us like really quickly. So at some point we might see him. But anyway, back to the strategy now. So the idea is that we're going to have 2 stops, one on lap 10 and one on lap 20. And for the first pit stop, we're just going to replace the tyres with mediums again and fill up the tank to the top. but it's the second one where we're going to also put new medium tyres on. That time we're going to make sure we don't fill the tank right up to the top. We're just going to fill up what we need so we don't cost ourselves too much time in the pits. Alright, so we're at the end of lap 3 now, and that BMW M6 Rubala in second position now. Yeah, he's got himself to second position. He was like 4th before. So my gap to second was like 8 seconds before, and he's already bringing that down really quickly. My pace is looking pretty good on this run though, so I am able to maintain that gap just for now. Then once you reach about lap 5 or 6, the tyres will become noticeably less grippy and your times will begin to become a little bit slower. I just went unacceptably wide on that turn. I probably just lost about half a second or more on that turn. Anyway, yeah, so your tyres will begin to lose grip and expect to see your times become slower and slower. Right, so I just want to give another tip. So coming through this section, compared to other cars, you kind of need to turn a little bit early here, and coming through this turn, use all of this like road here, but here you can cut all of that concrete on the inside there, but as your tyres wear, you will probably need to lift going through that fast left-hander that I just pointed out, because it's easy to understeer wide out onto the grass, and once you get stuck out there, you lose a lot of time. So just be aware the car is understeery and you may need to lift to make those fast turns. Right, so we're just going to look through that again. Just watch how much of the track I can actually cut here, because you can cut a lot. I'm just going to have to be patient because this thing does understeer. You can cut a lot of track, all of this, all the way up to there, and turn early. You can cut all of this concrete on the inside there, and you can actually take the corner flat because of that. So just be aware, you can cut a lot there. Just don't go onto the grass, because as soon as you start using the grass, that's when you get penalties. And even when you come down the hill here, we'll get into the braking zone, come down to second gear, you can use all of this on the inside as well. Cut all of that on our throttle, on our way, no penalties. And even right here, just make sure you open up the line for yourself. You can cut right across the curb there, just like I did there, still no penalties. Just don't cut too much. Okay, so we're on lap 10 now, coming towards the end of it, and we're going to enter the pits on this lap as a part of our 2-stop strategy. We're going to put the medium tyres back on and let the tank fill up to the top. Before I lost about 3 seconds, the car unexpectedly flicked on me and pushed me onto the grass. So yeah, I just lost about 3 seconds there. And as you'll see, there's a bunch of other guys that were running at the top behind me that are also coming on the pits that lap, because they all had medium tyres. We're filling up our cars and putting more tyres on. We probably won't be at the front as we come out the pits, but we shouldn't be too far back. Now, just like the start, we want to make sure we get through these AI as cleanly or as quickly and as smoothly as we can, rather. We might need to use them to lean on a little bit to gain a little bit through the turns, but as long as we're not getting held up by them, that is most important. We don't want to get held up and cost ourselves unnecessary time. What the hell? Okay, well, learn from that. Don't do that. It's actually really weird because I've been running that line the entire race. It must have been a very specific angle that I hit that sausage curb that ended up sending me to space, so just be aware of that one. Alright, so after all that chaos, I'm finally up to P3 again, and we shouldn't be too long before we're at the front again because we're catching these guys quite quickly. Just finally snuck back up to first position by lap 15. Alright, so now we're on lap 20, or the end of lap 20. We've got a car kind of in the way here. But we need to get in the pits on this lap, so we'll let them sneak through, tuck into the pits. So now we're going to put new medium tyres on again, and this time we have 10 laps left, so we want to put 11 laps of fuel in to be safe. Alright, so we're going to wait until about 11.1, that'll do, and let's go. Just coming out the pits after that pit stop, and we're still second, and only 8 seconds behind the next car, which that guy tends to drive quite slowly, so we should catch him pretty quickly. 1 lap since we've come out of the pits, and we're already right behind this guy that's leading. And you remember, he was 8 seconds ahead when I came out of the pits, so yeah, it just shows how slow he's going. There we go, just going to sneak around him, retake the lead, and that should be us. As long as you can be consistent for the rest of the race, we should win it from here. Just beginning the final lap now, and as you can see, we've got a leading gap of 48 seconds, which is massive. And that Rubala that's in second right now, he only overtook that Lopez that we overtook after the pit stop. He only took him on lap 28, so they are all miles and miles back. And we're even having one of them taking a pit stop onto the final lap, which is a bit silly. Have a really bad last turn for the final time, but we're going to finish 50 seconds ahead of the next car. Just remember that I lost about 9 seconds with silly mistakes, so that would have put me another 9 seconds or so, almost a minute ahead of the next car. And if you remember back to my original guide video on this race, I only finished about 20 seconds ahead of the next driver in that race. However, I was still building my pace throughout the race. Ultimately, I would have finished about 40 seconds ahead, but this one I finished even further ahead of that, so you know, this is probably actually a better strategy. The thing that's so good about this is That Z4 is such a stable car to drive. There's almost no situations where it's trying to kill you. Just a couple areas where at that lowest part of the track and you start climbing up the hill again, the rear might want to move around a little bit there. And then going through that S section that I pointed out, that high speed one where you might need to lift. If you get the weight transfer a little bit wrong, the car might swing a little bit there. All you have to do is just lift and slow down a little bit, let the car stabilize itself. And like I mentioned near the start, the Porsche is also a very good option for this race. It's great on fuel, it's fast enough. But the only issue is it's just a little bit less stable, but it's still pretty good. And I just want to thank all of you for your own suggestions in these videos that I've been doing with the Human Comedy series. Because the cool thing about these events is that there's not only one way to do it, and to see everybody else's methods of doing it is quite fascinating. I'm not sure if there's going to be any more videos on this Human Comedy series, but for now, thank you all for watching. Check out simrace247.com if you guys want to see sim racing news, updates and more. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next video.